Well, good morning, everybody. My heart desires that it's Friday in Colorado. I'm Lowell Whiteman, your host of 360 Performance Talk, and it's 11 o'clock in the morning, and it's time on a Friday to talk about performance. And we've got a great weekend coming up with sports. It's great to be alive in this world today, even though some might disagree with me about that, with what they're going through. In particular, federal employees are going through some tough times. And thinking about your performance at work isn't probably their first focus, nor is it probably thinking about, just life in general. It's tough. It's tough to be unemployed, or I should say furloughed. I don't know what the right word is. And today's this will be my last comments about that situation and what we're going through. But once again, it's a Friday. I'm extremely optimistic. Got my Thor shirt on. He's hanging out right there. Good morning, Henry. Good to have you with me. Where are you, Henry? In the mountains? Or are you in Tennessee? You're all over the place. And I'm talking about my friend Henry Muck out there, having a great time being retired, right, Henry? Can you really call it that? Do you really want to call it that? There are some people who are forced to think about retirement because of situations here. But again, I said I'm not going to talk about it anymore. We're talking about, our theme today is the integrity you bring to practice and preparation. And good morning, by the way, to my international friends out there. Haven't said hello to Peter out there in the UK and others that are great supporters of KUHSdenver.com. You listen to 360 Performance Talk. I'm your host, Lowell Whiteman, every Friday at 11 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. It's a great day to be having some fun and listening to things that I hope are going to help you. We're going to talk a little bit about the integrity of practice and prep for an interview or an audition, perhaps. Maybe that's what you're doing. Maybe you're an entertainer. Maybe you're an athlete, a pro athlete, and you're getting ready to present yourself like many athletes are this weekend at the Reese's Senior Bowl. It's the second of two, what I call auditions opportunities for college football players to show their physical capabilities. There's probably some mental part of it as well, but less of that at this stage. The Shrine Bowl was last week, and we're going to talk about how do you prepare? How do you practice? In particular, practicing and preparing for the mental side of the audition interview. You look behind me, you see some film of the kids getting ready and going through drills and exercises, their audition, if you will, at the combine. And also remember that there are pro days that go on during this time of year after the combine happens. That's the NFL Players Association combine that happens in Indianapolis, Indiana, at the Indianapolis Colts facility. And we'll talk a little bit about that facility during our mental conditioning segment, where we talk about environment and the influence of environment on your performance. But before I get to that, let me give you some notes about what's going on in our sports world. This is the time of year when lots of interviews and auditions are going on. Major League Baseball is getting themselves ready for their draft, which happens in June. We have the Reese Senior Bowl this weekend, which is an audition. But let me just share some things with you about the Super Bowl, because the Super Bowl, the entertainment part of the Super Bowl happens starting on Sunday when the Patriots and the Rams show up in Atlanta. For those of you who are going there and are interested in watching this, on Sunday the 27th at 4:25 p.m. Eastern Time, the Patriots show up. That's a photo op for anybody who's there. There's no interviews for this. This is a media thing that I did from the NFL. And then at 7:40 p.m., enough time for it to pass so that there's no butting of heads, literally or figuratively, between the two teams. Let's go Rams. You see how I did that? Butting of heads. Los Angeles Rams. You see where I went with that? Okay. They show up in Atlanta at 7:40 p.m. Once again, a photo op, but no interviews. And then on Monday, the show of being an entertainer as a player that is honored to be at the Super Bowl starts. It's the opening night of the State Farm Arena. The Rams have their photo op and interviews with players and coaches starting at 7:10 p.m. for an hour. And then there's a little intermission that everything kind of transition with the Rams leaving the arena and area. And the New England Patriots get to show up, players and coaches who are going to be interviewed from 9 to 10. Now, the reason I'm giving you this is to give you a sense of the event management. If anybody has ever put an event together or been around those people who do this for a living, this is a deal. This is quite the production, and it happens from Sunday all the way through the game on the 3rd of February, and also into Monday the 4th, where there's the what they call the winning team media availability with head coaches and Super Bowl MVPs at the Super Bowl Media Center in Georgia, which is the Georgia World Congress Center. So it's a big deal, and not to mention what's going to go on that night, Monday night, on the talk shows. You know, Jimmy Kimmel. Okay, I'll get it right. There's a Jimmy. There's two Jimmys. Fallon, Kimmel, Jimmy Kimmel. I got it. Just messing with it, Jimmy. Either one of them. Somebody's going to flip a coin and see how well they can do in getting the MVP Super Bowl coaches of the winning team on their shows for the talk show circuit. You know, if it's Brady, it's going to be just one heck of a, I want to say something else, but it's going to be interesting. I hope it's not. I hope it's the youngster with the LA Rams, but that's just my own personal opinion. So for the event side of things, Super Bowl 53, when the teams arrive, so do the crews for all the media that's going to happen. Now, the Super Bowl is definitely one of the bigger sporting events as an event management type of thing, but just think about this for a minute. There's trucks and vans that are going to house camera people, hosts for the shows, the video back, the crew behind the scenes that are running turning the dials and switches to get everything broadcast eloquently. In addition to the security that's going to happen at this event. And remember, security isn't just for the arena itself. It is also at the airport. It's also hotels and around the area. So it's a big deal. It's a big deal. Now, that being said, let me just talk to those who are going to be interested in watching the game but aren't necessarily right here in the United States. For those of you who have family and friends who are in the military or who are overseas, I'm going to give you some information about the satellite connection, domestic and international Super Bowl 53 satellite news and service connection that's available to you. Now, you can go to this website to make that connection. It's www, and it's NFL ISE, so NFLice.net, SIGNIANT _ media _ exchange /spring /Maine. Now you can go to the NFL website and also get this at NFLcommunications.com. But here's the key part. You have to have a username and a password. I'm going to give you that. I'm going to give you that username and password. Its username is SAT, S-A-T, all lowercase, .news, N-E-W-S. And then the password is capital S-A-T, capital N-E-W-S 53. That's sat.news for the username and satnews53 with the S and N capitalized for the international satellite connection. So if you've got family and friends that are in the military, send them a text, shoot them a phone call, whatever works, email, whatever, and let them know that's their connection to look at the NFL Super Bowl 53 on the satellite connection. All right, switching sports a little bit. We're going to start in with some news about the Major League Baseball. This guy, I loved watching this guy as a Yankee pitch because he was known as the premier closer. Mariano Rivera is going to be, by unanimous vote, doesn't happen very often, is going to be inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame. along with Roy Halladay, Edgar Martinez, Mike Mussina, are all headed to Cooperstown. And Rivera was the first unanimous pick in the history of the Baseball Hall of Fame, while the legendary Seattle designated hitter made it on his own on his final try. So this was a big deal going forward. And as you know, Mariano Rivera was a Yankee, and again, first unanimous choice. And those gentlemen, Roy Halladay, Edgar Martinez, and Mike Mussina, are the 2019 Major League Baseball Cooperstown Hall of Fame inductees. All right, good stuff, right? Well, I was a little disappointed the other night watching my Iowa Hawkeyes men's basketball team go after Michigan State. They were kind of right there at the cusp of things. Both 17-2 for Michigan State, 16-3 for Iowa. So if the Hawkeyes would have won, they both would have been tied in overall record. That's also a Big Ten game, so it was very important for both of them. Regretfully, my Hawkeyes got beat. They are ranked they're 21st in the top 25 ranking of teams. But if you follow NCAA basketball, we're getting close to. I'm going to be very interested watching what transpires from here on out as far as rankings are concerned. But Saturday, tomorrow, 7 p.m. I think it's going to be 5 or 6 o'clock our time here. Kentucky, number 9 Kentucky goes against number 10 Kansas in Kentucky. And I think that's going to be a great game. I like watching Calipari coach. You can see his strategies unfold on the court. Bill Self, I have to tell you, personally, I'm not a big fan of Bill Self, nor is Bill Self a big fan of mine. We have a history, people. Just saying. I respect him. He's a great coach. He's done it right. But he and I, as individuals, wouldn't always get along. Another thing to note is Texas Tech, ranked 13. This is a huge change in the last 2 to 3 years with them. Their program has greatly improved. That's a team to watch. They're steadily getting better and better and better week after week, especially who they play. The RPI going into NCAA tournament selection time period is growing. They're 15-3 right now. I expect them to be a 20-plus win team by the time the season is finished. So, baseball's coming up. We're going to shift gears a little bit with baseball. Talk to you a little bit about that. Now, this is all a setup for our prep and practice because this is where they want to get. Major League Baseball draft happens in June the 3rd through the 5th. We've got football happening. And all of this ranking is setting up seniors to be looked at, film to be made, putting good things on film, as coaches would say in football. Well, here in the baseball world, here's something to watch. Arizona Diamondbacks, of the 32 teams in the first round, the Diamondbacks have 2 throws at it. See how I did that? 2 throws. Arizona's going to pick 16 and 26 in the draft. Now, they're one of 2 teams, only 2 teams in the first round draft to be picking twice. Excuse me. The other team, I'm sure you could guess who's got the management squad to make this happen. It's the Los Angeles Dodgers. They're picking 25th and 31st. Excuse me again. Now, I bring this up, not trying to go into the details of the drafting play, how you get involved in the draft, as far as moving your positions around, but the Dodgers are good at it. And I have to tell you, the Diamondbacks are as well. Another team that surprises me that they didn't do a little bit more maneuvering is the San Francisco Giants and the Kansas City Royals have a number 2. Hold on just a second while I pull you there. Holy cow. 'Tis the season. Oh my goodness. So, number 1, Baltimore Orioles have the number 1 pick in the first round. I'll give you the top 5. It goes Baltimore, the Royals, the White Sox, the Marlins, and the Tigers. And our Rockies get to pick number 23. Now, if teams want to utilize the capital they have at their disposal, they could do what the LA Dodgers and the Arizona Diamondbacks did. They spent money to get better positioning so that they could pick players that they want to fill their roster. That's money talks, bullshit walks, right? And that in baseball, in the drafting situation, that is hugely important. Huge. We're about 15 minutes after the hour of 11 o'clock on a Friday 11. KUHS Denver brings you me at 11 o'clock. Yeah, 360 Performance Talk. I'm your host, Lowell White, and we're talking about the integrity of your practice and preparation for the big interview. Yeah. Good morning, Lyndon. Good to have you with me, bud. We're having a great day. That new grandbaby of yours, he's quite a cutie. All right, so we're talking about, look, everybody in some time in their life has gone to an interview. How did you prepare your brain and your body to get ready for that interview? Now you might say, what are you talking about? I'm going in for a sales position. I'm interviewing for a sales position. And I'm going to sit in a chair. I'm going to be interviewed perhaps by a panel of people. If I get to the meat of the interview, I might get an offer sometime shortly after that. Or I might have done it online. There's not a lot of, what physical stuff? If you listen to me, there's physical components to this. Our first segment talks about mindset, getting your brain ready before you even walk in the door. What did you do that morning to set yourself to a place where you're removing the negatives that might be in front of you and getting ready for that? Did you go through a physical activity to get your body, the blood pumping and the heart going, and so you can focus in on that task at hand? So I get it. It's a little different than an athlete striving to be a professional. It's a little different because on the athlete side of things, it's most definitely a flip-flop. The priority is the physical, not the mental. And yet I disagree in both cases. It's both. I think there needs to be equal attention to both. Because contrary to Nike's slogan about just do it, you had to think about that phrase to get to it. Just like you have to think about what you're going to do before you do it. So mental preparation leads the physical execution, whether it's for a sales position or selling yourself for a position. See how I did that? Selling yourself for a position. That's what the athletes are doing. The combine for football is coming up. We've got the Reese Senior Bowl this weekend, which comes after the Shrine Bowl, which happened last weekend. Both of those are by invitation only participations of players. I tend to disagree with some of their selections, but that's just me. But that being said, the combine, those bowl games are not the end all to your audition and interviewing process. You have your pro days at the college level for players to be looked at by NFL scouts and the NFLPA comes out. Those representatives come out and execute those events for them, going through the same routines as they would go at the combine. But I tell you, I've been to the combine, and it is just so much fun. It's kick-ass fun, and very enjoyable to be around. You go into the Omni Hotel, which is close by where the players stay. The players get to come over and go to the mezzanine second level, where you've got Nike, Adidas, Under Armour, all the merchandise folks are up there, and the kids are walking out with boxes of shoes. It's a promotional event for the vendors as well as for the kids to just enjoy. And then they have their outfits that they wear that are provided to them with a number on it. And I don't even know what the color scheme is. I don't think they've revealed what the color scheme is for this year's 2019. But that's all about mindset. That gets into your mind and starts to impact you. Now, you don't know that going there. So when you get there and this pageantry starts coming at you, you start realizing, okay, my skills. If you're listening to me, you're listening to, okay, breathe. Okay, let's make a good eye contact. Make sure that I'm really focused in on the person in front of me and what I'm being asked to do. It's quite an event. It's quite an event. So when you go into an interview, the non-athlete interview. Are you prepared for a certain set of questions? Did you get the booklet before you showed up? I'm thinking of coaching tests. We usually got the questions and the answers before we took the test to qualify for our coaches certificates by state. So did you get the questions before you went in? Or are you just going through a template in your head about which you might anticipate getting in this discussion? Well, it's not any different for an athlete striving to be a pro. At pro day, at draft day with the Major League Baseball or college basketball going into the pros, the NBA. All of those are coming up here soon. And believe it or not, for those of you who have not strived to be a pro athlete, there are questions that they're asked. In fact, in difference to the corporate world interview, it's far more interactive. Perhaps the corporate world could learn some things about qualifying the character and confidence of a new hire by putting them through some of the routines that these prospective pros have to go through. For example, when you go into the Indianapolis Colts arena as a college athlete, before you even get on the field to demonstrate your physical prowess, which in most cases is already on film, scouts have seen it, teams have seen it, their scouts have brought that to their position coaches' attentions. They're going to watch you eventually on the field go through specific drills to see if your mental state allows your physical capabilities to be delivered in a way that's representative of who you are. Pretty good challenge, right? But before you even get to that stage, you are going through room to room underneath the Colts arena, and you're put in front of a dry board. There's 3 or 4 coaches there from various teams that are going to watch you answer questions as though you're the coach, especially the quarterbacks. The skill positions, quarterbacks, wide receivers, running backs, linebackers who may be defensive captains at some point in the future. They're going to ask these players, these college players, how much do you know about X's and O's? I'm not talking about plays. I'm talking about strategy and thinking and identifying if-then. If I get this defensive look, then what do I do? Is it my first read, my second, or my third? Which will be my priorities if I'm a quarterback? The age-old rule, though, is make sure you throw the ball to the guy with the same color jersey you have. Well, they don't ask you about that. But that's important. Good morning, Patty. I'm glad to have you with me this morning. And go Red Hawks, right? So don't misunderstand the fact that the interviewing process, the audition/interview for a pro athlete hopeful, in particular in football, they get put through the ringers, especially if they go to the combine. They're not going to have the time to do that at pro day, but at some point in time, the scouts and the position coach for the NBA franchises or NFL franchises are going to try to find out what is that player's football acumen, what's their football intelligence. Are they, because if they're mature enough to verbalize it to the player coach, they're certainly going to be much more responsive. The response time and reaction to situations on the field will be quicker because they've already processed it. They've practiced and prepared, which is our theme for the day. You're listening to KUHSdenver.com. I'm your host, Lowell Whiteman of 360 Performance. We're talking to you about integrity and the practice and preparation that you may take for your interview or your audition. And I'm telling you, there's a carryover. Whether you're going for the pro position as an athlete, you're going through the same kind of rigors as someone who's going to be interviewed for a corporate job. And in fact, in many cases, probably more rigorous going into the pro ranks and being considered for a pro athletic position than any corporate position you might go to. And look, I've heard both sides. I've heard the candidates talk about, I'm nervous about going into that interview because it's a whole panel of people and they're from every different position in the company. There's managers there. There's going to be a supervisor, maybe my director, person I'm going to directly report to. And I won't know who it might be. And it could be the president or CEO of the company sitting right there in front of me. Well, I think that's nervous. It's naive nervousness. Because if somebody in your college career center didn't prepare you for those eventualities, they're not doing you a service. At the college athletic ranks, for football in particular, the teams that have coaches who've experienced themselves because maybe they were a player that went through that. I know Albus Whitted up at Colorado State, wide receivers coach. Shout out to Albus, I love to call him a good friend and colleague. He went through all of that. And he, as a matter of recourse with his receivers, if he thinks they have any potential law going to the NFL, or they get an invite to the combine, he gives them that insight. And that's hugely important. It helps mitigate the frustrations and concerns that those athletes might have going into that arena. That's preparation. That's building integrity into your practice and prep for your interview, for your audition, man. All right, we're going to take a quick break. Remind you that if you have questions for me or you want to get more in depth about investigating your capabilities to perform, check out my website, 360 Mindset. That's 360mindset.com. And take a look at the kinds of products and services we can support you with. One of those I want to direct your attention to is the RMP. That's a personal human desires assessment we do for every athlete and executive we interact with, because that data sets the foundation and direction for how we can support you. It allows us, me, to respond quickly to you and offer you better strategies of interacting with those people and things that are going to make you better. So check it out, 360mindset.com on the website. Now, as I say that, I'm also want to let you know I did some changes on my Facebook pages. I've got my 360 Mindset coaches page, and that's a picture of me standing stoically as a coach in my gray t-shirt and outfit there, with a little notepad. That's the 360 Mindset Facebook page. And then I've got my own personal page, and some of you might want to sign up for both, but please reach out, like it, find me. I made some changes. It might be confusing to some. I know there's a lot of people that are concerned about people pirating and sending you, bogus requests and that kind of stuff. I may have looked that way. I'm sorry if I bothered you with too much, but get out there and take a look at it. And good morning, Lenny. Good to have you with me this morning. As I told Pops this morning, go straight on the skateboard, please. Go straight. No whoopty or flippy floppy. I don't want you to get hurt. And as I say that, I would probably do that. I wouldn't listen to me either. I would still do the flippy and the whoopty doopty. But go straight. Be safe. Yeah. So we're at the half hour, halfway in, and gosh, time flies. I'm just amazed at how quickly things speed up. But I want to make sure that I don't forget a couple things as I'm sitting here thinking through. We're going to get into our next segment here on skills. Remember, our skills segment is based on 5 senses. Our 5 senses. Keeping it simple out there. I don't want to feed that paradigm that people think of athletes being, not kind of thick between the ears. We're thinkers. We're very creative people. But I want to make sure that I ask moms and dads as we start to move out of the winter months with, my gosh, we've had some cold days lately. Yesterday it was like blizzard conditions. Had to adjust my travel plan a little bit because of snow and wind and ice and whatever. And then we get hammered with great blue skies. I mean, that's bad thing. Great blue skies, cold, just that bone-chilling cold. But like in Colorado, if you stay in the sunshine, it's more tolerable, but it's still cold. So as we swing into spring, moms and dads are getting your kids ready for the next jump into the next season of sports. Be mindful of protecting them in ways that doesn't take away the dynamics of the game that they love. For example, with soccer, we'll go through just a list. Soccer. If they're 14 or under, my recommendation to you is don't let them do headers. Talk to the coaches. If the coach still wants to perform and practice the skill of having a header, ask them if your child can opt out. It's not good in those formative years. Any child younger than 14 does not have the skeletal structure or muscle development to really actively execute and then benefit from that skill set, the header. Keep that kind of off until they're physically ready to do that. And I think any coach worth their salt is going to agree with you and opt out. Now, that being said, there may be athletes 13, 14, even 12 to 14 that are physically adept at learning that skill. So pull that off to the side, coaches, moms and dads. Talk to the coach about that so that your child can advance. And I know there's pressure from the club sport level in soccer at the young ages that it's the complete game, which includes a complete set of skills. But be cautious, be safe. Head and brain trauma is not a fun thing. Regretfully, I mean, I'm so honored to have met some of these young people, but I regret that their lives have changed because they've had severe enough head and neck trauma, that their lives have been altered forever. Things like can't stand hot, intense light. And intense light to them is just turning the lights on, regardless of the source, which means they probably can't go outside as much, or they have to wear super protective gear. It's not a good thing. And yet we have ways to circumvent that. So that's one thing. Second thing is flag football. In the spring and summer, we've got flag football, 7-on-7 at the high school level. Even college, without coaches' contact, there are passing leagues that the college guys can get into. I encourage you to get the soft headgear and do that, because interestingly enough, even though they say there's no contact in flag football, go see a flag football game, and then come away and tell me whether or not you think there's no contact. And remember also that when you fall down, which happens, right? And maybe because nobody even touched you, and there was no contact, but you fell down. You tried to catch a pass, and then trying to catch the pass, you extended yourself. You tried to outperform the defender. Maybe didn't catch the pass, but when you fell, it was that whipping action of your neck to the ground. That way, you might want to have some protective gear. The ground is hard. It just is what it is. No matter how tough you think you are, keep that toughness going forward and protect yourself. There's lots of great soft headgear manufacturers out there that are flooding the marketplace. And if you love the game, continue to play and protect yourself. On the baseball side of things, the headgear, for the recommendations I'm going to make is moms and dads, many times, especially at the club level, you buy your own equipment. It's all your own gear. So get the helmet with the side panel on. At Little League levels, I even recommend the cages, even though as a coach, it can have some optics, kind of diminished optics and visual clarity. So there's different kinds of grills that you can get. There's the ones with the plastic mouth guard around here that keeps the eyes open, but helps protect the face a little bit. And it has the side panel here. So take the lead that the Little League has done in their championship series with the tournament, the World Series, the League World Series. They pretty much mandated that with helmets, but that doesn't mean it travels down into the communities. So we're into our next segment now, shifting gears. And before I do that, let me just make sure I give you another recommendation. One of my favorite things to use is Germ Block. It's my hand sanitizer. It is a wonderful hand sanitizer. You don't need a lot. It's a lotion feel because it has no alcohol in it, and yet it kills every germ on the planet, and it keeps you healthy and safe. It doesn't allow, because of the lotion in it, your hands to crack. You get that bleeding on the cuticle. It's just nasty, right? So try Germ Block. You can get that at Avcare, AVKARE.com, Avcare.com, or Amazon under Germ Block. And Germ Block is a germ, Germ, and BLOC, Germ Block. Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. Keeps you up. And this is stuff I ask any athletes I do. There's a carabiner one that has a little carabiner clip on it. Clip it to your backpacks. And then the other thing for topical relief of pain. But more than that, this is not an analgesic. This is a cannabis-based CBD-based product called Empower. Go to Empower Body Care, empowerbodycare.com, and it can be sent to you. It's an internet purchase. They can send it right to your house. I recommend all their products, but in particular, the oil for pain relief. How can you say on the label? Put it where it hurts. Big roller ball at the top. It's empowerbodycare.com. Great stuff for solving those aches and pains that you get. And as I said before, make sure you rub it in. That friction of your hands on skin activates the CBD oil to get into the tissue, so it really works well. And you can use this code to help things out. LW010. Use that code, LW010, and you'll pass back some benefits for me to you at 360 Performance. So, mental conditioning, that's our segment now. We talk about that as it relates to environment, and I'm going to do some remarks about this and then bridge quickly into our performance results, our last segment. The mental conditioning side here is related to the integrity of your practice and performance. As you see behind me, if you're watching on the internet, you see the combine activities of players. Well, that environment, for most of them, that's the first time they've ever been to the Indianapolis Colts arena, and taking advantage of the Lucas facility, and it's massive. It's an NFL stadium. Now, I get it that some of these kids have gone to some bowl games where the stadium's pretty stout, right? But underneath this stadium is a whole nother world that is like being in a corporate headquarters. There are conference rooms and training rooms, in addition to the medical support staff and the medical trainers and PT people down there. So it's quite impressive in how well it runs. So these players are put into that environment after they've already come from the hotel downtown, which, by the way, they can walk from their hotel indoors through the convention center to the stadium without having to go outside. And as you can imagine, during this time of year, it could get kind of cold in Indianapolis. And it has for the combines down there, which I've been at. So that environment can have an impact on your mindset and the skills you're trying to bring to bear to help you maintain your mindset. So let me give you a couple of things to remind yourself of. When you're getting ready for this big interview and or audition, be it pro athlete interview, audition, or not, first thing to do, breathe through your nose, out through your mouth, as often as you need to. That whole process, the physicality of that, does an alignment of your skeletal system and impacts your nervous system and helps maintain good, solid connections to the myelin so you can deliver those thoughts in a timely manner. Now, after that, as you're meeting these people, many of them for the first time, and because of what they represent and who they represent, can be kind of intimidating. Not that as a player or a confident executive to be, you haven't faced some pretty heady people, but you've only met them for the first time, and you need to make an impression quickly. So with the breathing, as you're approaching that introduction, eye contact. Think before you speak. There's nothing wrong with a little delay, that pregnant pause, to get you prepared for what you're going to say. And in most cases, it's going to be that introduction. Hi, how are you? My name is blah, blah, blah. And, they already know your name, but say it anyway. You let them know by your eye contact, that breathing preparation, that confidence that's going to come from that you are serious about where you're at and what you're about to do. If they say something to you, they ask you a question, they ask you a remark, summarize what you heard. Coach, great to meet you. If I understand what you're asking me, well, there you go. And I can assure you that if you talk to any of your college coaches, talk to any of your friends, talk to moms and dads who might have an executive position about how they want to be received by someone like you during the interviewing and auditioning process, they can give you some insights. Don't be afraid to ask questions. The only ignorant question that can be asked is, well, one ignorant question is the one that's not asked. That's what I'm going to say. So those are 4 points to remember when you're in that environment that can kind of just get you kind of upset. That's too strong. Get you a little nervous to the point where the nerves are out of control. We talk a lot about in this particular segment with mental condition when you get in the environment is controlling your emotions. For goodness sakes, you're at the combine. You're at pro day. You got professional scouts. You've never seen them before representing these major teams. Maybe it's a team that you want to play for. And that's going to get you excited. It should, but you need to control it. And breathing is the first step in doing it. And then doing the things that you know how to do best. Once you get it in your head and where you're going to go with it after the breathing. So as I say that, I'm going to segue right into the performance results, our last segment. And I'm going to emphasize again those 4 steps. Breathe, eye contact, think before you speak, and summarize what you heard. So you make sure the person who asked you a question or made a comment, you're honoring them, respecting them, but at the same time giving you that momentary pause to focus on your answer, align it with your preparation, align it with your practice mentally, and then deliver results. Now, as an athlete, you get ready to do the 40. Too often, if you've watched the combine, which you can, you can watch it on the internet through the NFLPA website, you see players false start. Well, they get a chance to do it. And there's nothing negative about that. But there's a coach sitting right there. He's typically the same coach every year. He's a coach for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's really good at what he does, and he helps the guys get themselves ready. But there's a stance. You'll notice the arm back, the hand planted, and there's a certain setup that they have to get there. Now, that all being said, before you get down in your stance, go through the 4 steps. Breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth, as many times as you need to. Because as you're doing that, you're thinking about, where am I looking? This is the eye contact. There's nobody in front of you. You're looking down the course. You know when you get down to that 3-point stance, what you're going to look at. Because you practiced it. Focus in on that. Get that all set. Because you know that once you bring that other arm up, there's going to be the start. So then you want to get your ears thinking about the sound, and you're all set to go. And it's just bing, bing, bing. You've got the control of it. And maybe that final thought is, I got this. I got this. It's all about me. It's all about me. If you're an athlete of mine that I've worked with in the past, you're listening today, you know that's what I tell you. That's your mantra. It's all about me. Focus on you. Because if you can't be a good you can't be good for anybody else. You got to start there. It's all about you. So as you're looking at your performance results, you're talking to yourself about process. That's what I just went through using the 40-yard dash as an example. The same thing is true for the cone work, for the weightlifting, for the receiving ball routes when the ball's going to be thrown to you. It's all the physical stuff. You know, you're jumping to touch the little banners to see how high you can jump. Excuse me again. All of those things are necessary. And in every one of them, go through the same steps. Take the breath. Be aware of the environment. Get your eyes looking at it. And if it's a person, you're making eye contact with them. So your integrity rings through because the practice and preparation is there for you to deliver on that interview and that audition. Now, if you're interviewing and auditioning for a pro sports position, you're going to be put in front of a dry board. Now, that may be the first time you've ever been asked to draw anything up and explain it as though you're a teacher or coach to someone else. Now, this is an audience, not of your peers. This is an audience of people that you want to impress them. You want to be able to share with them what you know and how emphatic and confident you are in knowing that. Well, as we're talking about today, practice, prepare. Now, I know at certain colleges that I've worked with, especially in the football, the quarterback position for football, the coaches ask their players in their position meetings to demonstrate at the board. So if you're listening to me and you're a coach or you're a player, ask your coaches, can I go to the board, coach? Can you help me practice? Because I think I got the skill. I think I've got the ability to go to the NFL, go to the Major League Baseball, NBA, whatever, and they're going to want to know how smart am I? How do I think through situations so that if I can think it through on the board, I can deliver it physically on the court. And that's huge. That's huge. So processing that. So get your coaches, or coaches get your players up to the board, because that will help them be better players on the field for whatever amount of time they have left with you in college. And if they have the skill set to be a pro athlete, rise up physically to be that pro athlete, then you want to give them the other piece. So they've got a complete list, an inventory of high integrity capabilities. And that's what we're talking about today. Practice and preparation for that great interview and audition, and having high integrity in the delivery of what you do. And that goes without saying, as a crossover to the business world as well, that you have processes that you work on. And when I say processes, if you work the process routinely, it becomes a habit. It becomes something that you rely on. But as I say that, I want to caution you about that. Practicing and preparing needs to incorporate an awareness, a willingness, a confidence to wrap your arms around failure. Yeah, I said it a little louder. Failure. Wrap your arms around that so that you can feel good about succeeding, knowing that you're not perfect. But you're going to deliver. You have a high integrity even through failure, because you practice and prepare, and the prior failures you bring forward to help you succeed and not repeat it again. I know I've said this before on the shows. When I was coaching, and I still do coach, just not at the team level anymore. When the kids went, my bad, coach, my bad. Oh, I would just take a breath, into my nose, out through my mouth, go over to my player and say, what do I want you to say? Oh, coach, it'll never happen again, coach. That's what I want you to say. Because then I know you're looking at failure as an opportunity to get better. My bad gives you an excuse. I don't want excuses. I want an admission, a humble admission with high integrity. I recognize the failure, and because of that recognition, I know how to not make it happen again. Now, I say that with some confidence because I screw up a lot. But I love it because it makes me better. But as I say that, it takes some courage. It takes some humility to do that. So when you go to the combine, as a player that I worked with, he was a place kicker and just great stuff during his college career at Colorado State University. And I called him up recently after I saw the disappointment of teams losing games that they were in a position to win by just converting a field goal. A field goal that was well within the historical range of that player. But he didn't. And I'm thinking to myself, I need to call him, because maybe we can get him back into shape. Because in that situation, he and I had gone through it mentally in preparing his integrity through the practice and preparation of delivering that result over and over and over again. And he knew. He knew how to prepare himself. He knew how to breathe through his nose and out through his mouth. See the ball, see the foot placement, see the follow through, and make it happen time and time again. And throughout this NFL season, I have seen more than my fair share of place kickers that are not consistent, that are obviously, because of that inconsistency, are not processing through the same mental, physical connection of processing the kick the same way. It is what it is. And it's not any one individual. And I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus or mention any teams, but it just it's really interesting how the world turns and how the guy that I called and had a chuckle with and reflection of the past, if things would have been different, he may have gone onto the pros. And the thing is, he was at the combine. He did great. But the situation in the NFL isn't the same as it is now. If he was going there now, I think he'd be with an NFL team. But that being said, is nearing my final remarks about today's show on integrity. Practice and preparation is to prepare and practice for those interviews. Do you realize that the combine is one of the few places that young people are interviewing / auditioning for a high-paying position that they have to go through both physical and mental delivery that represents their skills? Look, when I interviewed for a sales job many, many years ago, I didn't have to run a 40-yard dash. I didn't have to jump up and touch some little flicky things to see how high I could jump. I didn't have to lift on a bench press. Didn't have to. Wasn't part of the skills I was needed to produce for that position. Now, as I look back on it, they could have probably tested my health. Not necessarily the same methods they used at the combine, but that wasn't part of it. It was all about what did I know? What was between my ears that I could deliver verbally, and then follow that up with a memo or an article or time report, whatever the case may be. It's important to know process when you go into an interview or audition so that you can deliver within that process. So here's a couple of the final things I want to mention to you. Whether you're an athlete seeking a pro position or a young person seeking an executive position, ask questions. The only ignorant question is the one that's not asked. Ask questions. Wrap your arms around your failures and use them to help yourself improve. That's number 2. Number 3, engage other people who've been there before you and get their advice. As athletes, you might have coaches that went through these processes. Ask them for their advice. You don't have to take it, but listen to it. And whatever morsel of knowledge that can help you, use that. The same thing on the corporate side of business. Ask questions of people that have already been there. And in many cases, it's your mom or your dad. Find out what they know so that they can share it with you. And lastly, make a decision during your practice and preparation. What skills and processes represent the best of who you are, and deliver those. Process. Our last segment is performance results. So select the process that's going to deliver the best of who you are. Now, that's being said, knowing that when you go to the combine or pro day, there are certain processes you don't have control of. You just don't. But understand what they are. Wrap your arms around them and practice them. I can't imagine a strength and conditioning coach at any sport level that doesn't have an idea of processes that you need to know to deliver the best of who you are when you get to that audition. So ask them. I'm not going to presume that they're going to offer it up. Ask. And even if they do, ask questions about how does that fit me? How do you as my coach, someone who observes me, can help me be my best? That's the bottom line. Good morning, Catherine. Good to have you with me. I look forward to seeing you on February 2nd at Zoe's Coffee. It's all about getting to know who you are in any process you deliver. In today's show, we're talking about the integrity of your practice and preparation for that great interview and audition that you're taking on the eve of, soon to be, the Combine for football players. The Major League Baseball draft is coming June 3rd and 5th. Then you have college basketball is going to finish itself up. So there's some auditioning going on by players who are on teams that are going to probably go to the NCAA tournament or the NIT tournament. Those are auditions. Put good things on film, is what many coaches have said to players that I've been around. That film is going to find its way to somebody that's going to be more than likely either evaluating or is going to actually be the decision maker about calling you in for that ultimate audition and interview that's going to get you to the next step. And that's the best thing. Going to the next step in whatever position or practice that you're in. So, as we kind of grind down to the last few minutes of the show today, I want to remind you of a couple of things. We've got the Reese's Senior Bowl this weekend. Great place for many players to have that next step of interview and audition. Please take a look at that and enjoy it. Maybe somebody from your favorite college teams are going to be playing. Remember, it's not the amount of time they get in the game because they're going to be rotating a lot of kids in, having fun, enjoying the theatrics, the entertainment value of that. They're going to be playing hard, though, so they can put their best foot forward in this next segment of interview before they go on to the combine or the pro day. So don't be too upset about how much time they get, but what they do in that time. A single reception might set somebody apart. A 5-yard run that should have been a 2-yard run could set them apart. Blocking the edge to release somebody could be that the only thing they get, but could be integral in identifying that player as somebody that a pro team would want. So don't be too upset about that. If you're watching, the moms and dads out there. And I know my Hawkeyes are going to come back after the loss to Michigan State last night. It was a great game, competitive game, but I'm sorry, guys, I turned it off before the game ended. Michigan State just had you with 4 minutes left to go in the game. It was a deficit that was, to be honest, physically and from the time clock standpoint, impossible to overcome. Take a look at Facebook. I apologize if I gave you too many announcements about Facebook, but my Facebook page I want you to pay attention to is the one you're looking at me on right now. That's where my picture is the coach's pose. And it's my 360mindset.com page for Facebook. Please look at that. And some of you are looking at both, my personal as well as my professional one. My personal page has got the coach's logo. Love that logo on it. Enjoy the weekend here in Colorado. For those of you in Colorado, enjoy the weather this weekend. It should be pretty good. I'm hoping to get to the mountains sometime soon. We've had great snow up there. I want to get out to snowboard. So whatever you choose to do for this weekend, wherever you might be at, have fun, be safe, and always enjoy it. Always enjoy the opportunities that you have. And taking honor to today's show, free. Through your nose, out through your mouth. Give yourself a chance to put your best foot forward through a process and a set of skills that represent the best of who you are and the mindset that you bring to the table. Hey, I'm your host, Lowell Whiteman of 360 Performance on KUHSdenver.com. I'm going to end with giving you a little bit of show of the stylistics. I'm stone in love with you. Ain't that the truth?